Grace and peace to you all, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Donald. I'm an author of Hidden Mathematical Genius Within Revealed. Okay, so today I want us to talk about roots of quadratic equations. Okay, so these are some of the properties of roots of quadratic equations. So we have alpha squared plus beta squared is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 2 alpha beta. Then we have the square of alpha minus beta is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 4 alpha beta. Then we have alpha cubed plus beta cubed is equal to the cube of alpha plus beta minus 3 alpha beta times alpha plus beta. And alpha cubed minus beta cubed is equal to the cube of alpha minus beta minus 3 alpha beta times alpha minus beta. Okay, so for now I want us to prove the first two. Okay, so let's start with the first one. We have alpha squared plus beta squared is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, want to show. So want to show that alpha squared plus beta squared is equals to the square of alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, so to show this, what we can do is we can start with the right hand side of the equation. Okay, we know that for every equation there must be left hand side or right hand side. So let's start with the right hand side of the equation. So we have right hand side of the equation. We have alpha plus beta squared minus 2 alpha plus beta. Okay, so what we do is if we work out the right hand side of the equation, this should give us alpha squared plus beta squared. Then that simply means we have proved it. Okay, so here we have the square of alpha plus beta. This one is just a simple expansion. Okay, you expand this. Okay, so when you are squaring an expression, there is a simple procedure you can follow, which is the shortcut. What you do is to expand this, first thing, square the first term. So it will be alpha squared. Second step, you multiply first term by second term. So alpha times beta, then times 2. So alpha times beta, you get alpha beta. Times 2, it will be 2 alpha beta. So plus 2 alpha beta. Then lastly, you square the last term. So plus beta squared. So this is how you expand. Okay, how you expand the square of an expression. So let me just run you through again. So first thing, you square the first term, that is alpha squared. Second step, it is the product of the second and the first and the second term. So alpha times beta, then times these 2. So you get 2 alpha beta plus, that's lastly, you square now the last term. So the square of alpha plus beta, you get alpha squared plus 2 alpha beta plus beta squared. Then here we have minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, then what we can do is we can collect the like terms. Okay, so we can arrange this according to what we have here. We can start with alpha squared, so you say alpha squared, then plus, we have beta squared here, plus beta squared, then we have plus this, that is plus 2 alpha beta, then again minus, here, the last term here, minus 2 alpha beta. So alpha squared plus beta squared, this one will remain as it is. We have alpha squared plus beta squared. But here we have 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. What do you get? 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. This is just a 0. So these 2 cancels out. Okay? So 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. This is a 0. So you remain with the alpha squared plus beta squared. And you have seen that this was on the left hand side of the equation. So we have proved that alpha squared plus beta squared is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 2 alpha beta. So you say hence shown. Okay, so this was the first one. Let's go to the second one. So the second one we have the square of alpha minus beta is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 4 alpha beta. So for this one, what we can do is we can start with the left hand side of the equation. Okay, so start with the left hand side of the equation. So here we have alpha, the square of alpha minus beta. So what we can do, we can expand this using that simple procedure I mentioned earlier. So this is the square of alpha minus beta. So how do you expand? So first you square the first term, okay? Then second you find the product of the first and second term, then multiply by 2. Then lastly you square the last term. So this is how you do it. So you say, so first you square the first term, so you get alpha squared. Second, it's alpha times beta. Now this beta has got a minus here, so it's alpha times minus beta. It will be minus alpha beta. Now that minus alpha beta multiplied by 2 here, so it will be minus 2 alpha beta. So we have minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, then lastly you square now the last term. So minus beta squared, you just get positive beta squared. So it's plus beta squared. Okay, so this is how you expand. Now if you rearrange the terms, you start with let's say we have alpha squared, then alpha squared, then you get this beta squared, so plus beta squared minus 2 alpha beta. Now these things are linked, as in are connected. Here we have alpha squared plus beta squared. We have an identity for alpha squared plus beta squared. This is what we have from proven. So where there is alpha squared plus beta squared, you put an identity for this alpha squared plus beta squared. So an identity for alpha squared plus beta squared is, so where there is alpha squared plus beta squared, you put the square of alpha plus beta minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, so this is everything for alpha squared plus beta squared. So we have the square of alpha plus beta minus 2 alpha beta. Now here at the end there is minus 2 alpha beta. So we have minus 2 alpha beta. Okay, so this one you maintain as it is. You say alpha plus beta, or the square of alpha plus beta. Then here we have minus 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. So what is minus 2 alpha beta and minus 2 alpha beta? So this is just a simple arithmetic. We have a minus and a minus. And we know that from the rules of integers, when you have same signs, you add and maintain the sign. So minus 2 alpha beta minus 2 alpha beta. This is just 2 alpha beta plus 2 alpha beta. Then you maintain the minus sign. So what is 2 alpha beta plus 2 alpha beta? So you get 4 alpha beta and you maintain the sign. So it will be minus 4 alpha beta. So minus 4 alpha beta. And you can see that what we have here is what is on the left hand side of that is the right hand side of the equation. So we have proved, okay, we have proved that the square of alpha minus beta is equal to the square of alpha plus beta minus 4 alpha beta. Simple mathematics. Okay, so hence shown. Thank you so much for your time.